is already here. Please, can you tell us where you're joining from, if you don't mind? While we wait for others to join, maybe let's give like 10 minutes for others to join. You can drop that on the chat, or you can unmute your voice and let us know where you're joining us from. Okay, Chimaobi is joining from Lagos. Thank you very much, Chimaobi. How is your weekend? How is your family? Sulight, Nigeria, thank you very much for joining. Hope your weekend is going well. Okay, I can see other people joining from Abuja. I can see Elijah said he's joining from Abuja. Thank you, Elijah, for joining us, and hope your weekend is going well. And how is your family? Adeyemi from Lagos. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining us this weekend. Hope your weekend is going well. Okay, while we still wait for, this is 4:02. Let's give some time, like 4:10. 4:10 we can start. Sorry. Thank you very much for your response. For those that are just joining us, you can let us know by dropping on the chat where you are joining us from and your name. We'll be starting by 4:10. We just want to wait for others to join us before we can start. Thank you. Okay, Benedict is joining from Abuja. Thank you very much, Ben, for joining us. I hope your weekend is going well. For those that just joined, yeah, you can let us know where you're joining us from uh, on the chat, or you can unmute yourself and let us know. Thank you. We'll be starting by 4:10, which is 4 minutes more, then we'll start. Uh, okay, it's actually a structured training which is centered on Elijah is asking whether is a structured training for a course or something. Okay, it's actually a training on security operation, which is a C200 for those that wants to write the certification. But we have this training twice in a month. First Saturdays and third Saturdays of every month. But we are covering courses on SC200, which is security and operation analyst for somebody that wants to write the exam, the certification exam, which is SC200. So that's what this course is centered on, and is an intermediate class. It's not a beginner's class. Okay, it's 4:10. We'll be starting. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining and for waiting on the call while we wait for others to join. Today, our training, welcome again to our cloud security bi-weekly training. And today, the topic we'll be handling today is how to safeguard your environment with Defender for Identity and secure your cloud apps with Defender for Cloud Apps. And our trainer today is Stephen Osonuga. Sorry if that was wrong. And Stephen is a security specialist with a hands-on experience on penetration testing, red teaming, and vulnerability research. He has a bachelor degree in cybersecurity and he's currently doing his master's in technology. Yeah, he's currently doing his master's in information technology, and he has worked with different organizations, both in fintech and other organizations, other technical tech companies. Uh, he has a background in critical infrastructure, and also he's very good at simulating advanced threats and validating defenses using frameworks like military attacks. So let's welcome Stephen as he take over, and hope we'll learn one or two from what he's going to teach us today. Thank you very much, Stephen, for joining us today and for taking out time to take us on this course. I'm handing over to you. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you so much, Thelma. It's a pleasure to be here. I always find it, and I always see it as an opportunity to be able to distribute my knowledge to the community, to help and also to guide as much persons. And I want to appreciate the leaders of the Microsoft Nigeria Security User Group for giving me this opportunity to be able to share this knowledge and to be able to train based on this particular topic that we're looking at. So without much further ado, today we'll be looking at safeguarding your environment with Microsoft Defender for Identity. Now, this is part of the series of the SE200 series. Even if you are not going to take the exam, it is fine to gain or add to your knowledge on how to protect your environment better with Microsoft Defender. And when we're talking about environment, we are talking about your cloud environment and also on-premise environment, because the Microsoft Defender for Identity has the capability to protect your identity for cloud, both your cloud identity and then your on-prem identity. And also it also still covers the non-human identity, which could be service account, managed account, and the rest. So if you're in a company or if you are just starting out tech, wanting to learn more or expand, or you are in the field already looking to expand your knowledge, this would be a very good one for you. Please, if you're following, can you just give a thumbs up so I'm sure that I'm audible enough and you guys can hear me.
Yes, you're audible.
All right, thank you so much, Thelma. So the focus for today's training is Microsoft Defender for Identity. Usually I love to first try to cover some ground, which talks about what is identity. Now, we are aware that right now a lot of things that we do online, they span across identity. If we think back to, let's say, 10 years ago, when the internet was not so advanced as this, most of the time when you are accessing different platforms, you notice that you create several identities. Sometimes we tend to reuse the same password for different accounts or different platforms, right? This is just me covering ground on identity. Then over time, technology advanced and something came up, which is called single sign-on. I'm sure most of us are aware of single sign-on. Single sign-on allows you to use a single account on multiple platforms, and which allows you to also secure your identity so that you do not keep on creating several passwords, where you can just use one account to access multiple platform, which is why it is called single sign-on. One account, multiple platform. So, and now let's bring it to the cloud, right? In the cloud, when you're onboarded to an organization, you are given your credentials based on the company's domain. Let's say, for example, if you work at Contoso organization, you are given an account, for example, admin at contoso.com. Now, this account allows you to have access to most of the company resource, as long as you have the permission to have access to it, or as long as you have the privilege to access it. Right now, imagine a company that has 10,000 staffs, and let's say 5,000 of them are in the corporate environment, which is the on-premise environment, and another 5,000 are remote workers, which means that they are cloud, their account is on the cloud, right? And they want to protect all this identity together, and they're looking for a solution that can help them not just protect them, but also synchronize them to a platform where you can see a visual holistic view, right? And that is where the Microsoft Defender for Identity comes in. So it gives you the capability to synchronize on-prem, cloud accounts, cloud identity, which could be human identity, that is your normal identity, or non-human identity, which could be a service account. So at the end of this module, we'll be looking at you should be able to define the capabilities of Microsoft Defender for Identity. You should be able to describe how to configure Microsoft Defender for Identity sensors. You should also be able to explain how Microsoft Defender for Identity can remediate risk in your environment. And also by the end of today's slide, there's a question assessment that I'll be asking, which is like the last thing after today's slide, so that we can be able to brush up our memory and, get to answer some questions basically. Now, first question is that what is Microsoft Defender for Identity? Microsoft Defender for Identity, or I could call it MDI, is a cloud-based security solution that helps companies, organizations monitor and protect user identity across their network. I'm sure, so there's a difference between the Microsoft Defender for Identity and the Entra, the Microsoft Entra, or the let's just say Microsoft Entra. Now the Entra is the Active Directory, which is the cloud Active Directory that allows you to create your corporate identity, corporate application, enterprise application, and the rest. While Microsoft Defender for Identity is under the Microsoft Defender for Cloud Suites, which is used for protecting identities, which are created in both the Entra ID and also in your on-premise environment. So that is the difference. So don't get it mixed up. Microsoft or Azure has Microsoft Defender for Cloud, and under the MDC or Microsoft Defender for Cloud, we have Microsoft Defender for Identity, Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, Microsoft Defender for Kubernetes, and the rest. So the Defender for Identity comes into is a solution that helps companies monitor and protect user identity across their network. And if you can see the image below, this is how the capability works. It detects threats fast with behavioral analytics, then focuses on what is important using attack timeline. So, and to also help analysts to save time, it reduces the fatigue of false positive, which means that it checks every alert that is raised and also and focus on what is important, which also helps to reduce the fatigue of false positives. Then also it's protect at scale with the power of the cloud. Then lastly, it is the best-in-class security powered by intelligent security graph, which one thing that I like about the MDI is that it has a feature that allows you to correlate events, and it's quite intelligent. To, let's say an attack happens, you can correlate it with different scenario that helps you to find the root cause of the attack. So that is the feature of MDI, or that is what it does. Now, so some of the features for Microsoft Defender for Identity. The first one that we have is Identity Security Posture Assessment. So MDI, which is the focus for today's class, these are the features that come with it to help you to protect your company's identity. It comes with real-time monitoring. It comes with investigation and threat hunting, also known as advanced hunting, which you make use of KQL to go deeper into some investigation. KQL means Crystal Query Language, which is the query language that Azure uses for threat hunting. Yeah. Then also comes with the feature of incident response. In case you don't, in case you want to automate some response for some particular alerts, you have the feature to automate that using the incident response. So once there's an incident, and you have configured the automation, it responds to it automatically for you. Now, the first one on the list is, so we're looking at them individually and how it actually helps to protect a company's identity and network. Now, the identity security posture assessment has 4 key capabilities, which allows you to protect your identity. So when we talk about the identity security posture assessment, there's something that we call secure score or posture assessment, which gives you an holistic summary of how secure the company is. That is secure score generally now. It gives you an holistic view of how secure your company is, where the security is lacking, what needs to be done, what compliance the company is not following. Well, when we come to identity security posture management, posture assessment, it's similar to that. It gives you an holistic view of the company's identity security and which part is lacking, which part needs improvement, and whatnot. So the security posture assessment has a way of being configured, which starts from data collection. You, as the security analyst, need to configure where or what data is being collected. You don't have to collect every single data that is being shared by the AD or the domain server, right? You can limit how many users or which particular group of users you want to share with the defender for identity. So the identity security posture assessment comes with data collection, which you configure to collect data from either the on-premise or the cloud or Entra ID, which is the identity. Then once it has collected the data that it needs, it then goes into analysis and detection. It begins to detect where there is a security lack. If, for example, in today's system, in today's world, one key thing about compliance is that when a company wants to remain compliant with security standards, multi-factor authentication is a no debater, right? So if the security posture assessment checks the identity cloud or the on-premise and sees that there is no MFA enforced on the account, right? So that is being analyzed and then it goes down and reports that MFA needs to be configured for this account. Not just MFA, a lot more things have been analyzed, like probably impossible travel, reconnaissance that is being done, for the LDAP, for the domain controller, Kerberos tickets granting attack, all those is being analyzed and detection is done for um whenever there is an attack, right? So, but for the security posture assessment, this checks for your security posture if MFAs are not configured, if there are too much privilege on a particular account, it analyzes that. If let's say there are too many admin accounts, which is global admin in the environment, it tells you to limit it so that there is no slack in the company's environment. So after it has done its analysis and detection, it comes down to reporting and remediation, which gives you the reports in a list format like how you see down there, and tells you the recommendation on how to remediate that particular risk in your organization. Once it is remediated, it goes on to continuous monitoring, always monitoring your environment, your identity for whenever there is a lack of security posture. So that is the first one, which is the first feature of Microsoft Defender for Identity. Now, for the second feature, we have real-time monitoring. Real-time monitoring comes with always checking for slacks in the security posture of your organization, and also starts with data collection, just like the initial one, which is the posture management or posture assessment. Real-time monitoring also starts with data collection. It knows where it is collecting its data from. Then you as a security analyst need to set the baseline, or you need to create the baseline for what is well, not for most of it, because Microsoft comes with its own feature. So, but you can also set the baseline for the alert, which one is high priority, which one is medium priority, which one is low, or you can just go away with the custom with the with the default one that came with Microsoft. Then we have the anomaly detection, which checks for anomalies in your identity or in the collected data, and then goes ahead to alert you for any breach or any compromise in the environment. Please, if you're following, can I see a thumbs up? If you are with me, can I see a thumbs up? All right. So the third feature for MDI is investigation and threat hunting, which I also talk about is being advanced threat hunting. Thank you, guys. I can see the thumbs up. Thank you, guys. So this is a more advanced way of looking into. I mean, it is a very, very important tool. Yeah, there's a dashboard that shows you security flaw. There is also the real-time monitoring, but there is going to be some security that might probably be overlooked, or something that you might not see early on. So basically, you can go into advanced hunting. Let's say there is a particular flaw that you see, and you want to investigate that matter and correlate it to other events that leads to that particular flaw or security breach, right? There is the capability of advanced hunting or investigation and threat hunting, which allows you to go to the root cause of that particular event. Now, the first part of it is the investigation. It has a detailed activity view that shows you how detailed information about a particular event, so that you can know how to correlate it to other events. And one thing that I love about the threat hunting is that it also has the entity relationship mapping. So, which means that when you are investigating a particular event, it also helps you to map it to other entities that might be related to that event, which makes it more easier for you to track the risk scores for that particular event. Is very, very helpful, especially when you have a large company and there's just too much information, right? The entity relationship mapping goes into the whole investigative process and maps out which events are related to this particular event, so that you can go there and know that, okay, this one too was part of it, and correlate everything well, and go to the root cause, isolate the compromised identity, yada yada, and you secure the environment. Yeah, we have customizable timeline, which helps you to investigate based on timeline, which is, we're still talking about the investigation. So you can, because the dashboard obviously shows you your current posture, right? But if you want to investigate a particular month, and that what were the alerts that were thrown in this particular month, then best bet that the customizable timeline can show you those information and allow you to go back to those timeline. Then the investigation also comes with some forensic analysis, which gives you proper details about events, so that it can be quite correlatable to other events. Then on the threat hunting, one thing about the MDI is that it comes with pre-built hunting query basically something that is always in use, right? If you can, I don't know if you can see the image by the center here, but you can see that for alert and behavior, you can query for alert evidence, alert info, you know. So all these are like already pre-built that you can want to see all these queries, right? But let's say you want to go like, or you want to check for something that is not among the pre-built. Yes, the MD also allow you to create your custom query to search for what you are looking for. And that makes it more flexible for you as a security analyst. Then threat hunting also has comes with lateral movement path detection, which I'll still talk about in detail in coming slide, how it detects lateral path movements. So, but for my people that are in the security field that knows about ethical hacking, you know how critical lateral movements can be. When an attacker gains access into a low privilege identity, it finds ways that it can use to escalate its identity and move laterally. Laterally means move upward. So that means that it's trying to compromise an identity with higher privilege. And when he's able to move up the ladder, he has more control over your environment. So MDI comes with the capability to detect lateral movement paths that is done from a low service account or a low identity up to a high privilege user before any real compromise is done in the network. Then we have the security score integration that is also integrated to threat hunting to show you the security score of the environment. All right. So that is the third feature of MDI, Microsoft Defender for Identity. Then the fourth feature is incident response, like I mentioned, to help you to automate a particular event that reoccurs, and you don't want to always go back and manually do that. It helps you to give you a platform to automate response for incident. Now, the IR or the incident response feature comes with rapid threat identification. Sorry, it comes with rapid threat identification to identify rapid threat in the environment. Also gives you comprehensive forensic data in the environment, then allows you to create automated containment measure to automate different containment. Let me give a scenario for this. Let me give a scenario. Okay, I'll still come from the lateral movement part. When a service account has been compromised. Now, a service account is a non-human identity that is not attached to, it does not have a password, right? But it has an email or an identity in the cloud environment. Now, how a service accounts work is that when you have an application that require access to, let's say, the Entra identity, that whenever a user in your company wants to register on that particular application, it needs to check if that user is valid in the environment. So there can be a service account attached to that application to check for it can be a managed identity, it can be service identity, right? But it just allows the application to check if the account is valid in the environment, right? So that is just like a picture of how service accounts look. But in reality, we have different type of service accounts, especially when it comes to infrastructure as a service, sorry, infrastructure as a code deployment. Right? You must create a service account on your Terraform to allow you to deploy infrastructure, which is VMs, VNet on your cloud environment. So those service accounts attached to applications, to different software, but not actually a human, right? Those are service accounts. Now, back to the scenario. Let's say that a particular service account has been compromised. Let's say through its access key and access secrets, because that is how to configure service accounts. So an attacker has gotten the access key because it's sometimes come with both access key and access token. Then once you load it to whatever platform, you're able to have access to the cloud environment using the access key. So once an attacker has compromised the service account, probably it might be a low privilege service account, and the attacker wants to use that particular account to enumerate the environment and find out ways to escalate its privilege. Now, I'm trying to paint the picture of how automated containment measure comes in. All right. So the account has been compromised. Attacker is enumerating the environment. There is what is the previous one? Sorry. So there is real-time monitoring that is monitoring the whole activity going on. Then when the MDI sees that no, this is not based on the behavior, based on the behavior, it is not the normal thing that this service account does. It flags that service account, and then once it flags it, you have your automated containment measure already configured that when an account is flagged and it needs to be disabled, right? It should go ahead and disable it. So whenever there is a service account compromise, right, and then it is flagged, these IR is able to disable the account and prevent further enumeration and touch in the company's environment. Then lastly, we have the incident response workflow integration. You can integrate IR workflows to automate response based on different criteria. So it's part of what comes with the Microsoft Defender for identity. Now, this is how the architecture looks like. For the MDI, there is the Microsoft Defender XDR portal, which looks into the Defender for Identity workspace and displays the data received from the sensors. Now, how does, I'm talking about the feature of the Microsoft Defender for Identity, but how does it actually collect this information from on-premise and the cloud environment? Now, because Microsoft Defender for Identity is part of the cloud suite, you don't need more configuration, or you don't need any configuration for it to be synchronized with the Entra ID, right? Because they're both on the cloud. But when it comes to Active Directory, which is your on-premise or third-party identity provider, you might need to have, or you might need to configure some sensors that you might need to install some sensors on those workstations so that the identity that is in the on-prem can be synchronized to the Microsoft 365 or the Defender for Identity. Now, those sensors are lightweight softwares that are installed on the domain controller or the domain server, rather. Sorry, they're installed on the domain controller or the federated server or the certificate server. Right? So once they are installed on those servers, the identities or the users that have been created for the organization is synchronized to the MDI, and then its security posture begins to kick in to see which compliance the identity is not following, and it shows that in the secure score dashboard, which allows you to remediate the issue. So, right, the Defender for Identity sensors can be installed on the domain controller or the federated server or certificate server. Then lastly, the Defender for Identity cloud service runs on Azure infrastructure and is connected to Microsoft Intelligent Security Graph. Now, in terms of licensing, the Microsoft Defender for Identity does not come with all license. So you need to make sure that you are aware of which license it comes with. So it comes with, let's say your company purchased the Enterprise Mobility plus Security E5, right? So if the Microsoft Defender for Identity comes with it, so you don't need to pay extra. But at the same time, it is not standalone and it's also per user based, right? So just as the license is. So it comes with the enterprise mobility plus security E5, then also with the Microsoft 365 E5 or the A5 or the G5, right? It also comes with some specific Microsoft 365 E5 SKUs, which is in terms of security, which is not all E5 SK, but with some specific ones. Then also comes with Microsoft 365 F5 security plus compliance. So you notice that what is most common is E5, right? So keep E5 at the back of your mind that the Microsoft 365 E5 or the security E5 is what the MDI comes with. Then also Microsoft 365 F5 security plus compliance, right? So once you have this particular license in your company, best bet that when you check the Microsoft Defender for Cloud, you are going to see the MDI as part of its feature. But if it's not this, let's say if you're using a Microsoft 365 E3, for example, when you check the Microsoft Defender for Cloud, you might not see the button for Microsoft Defender for Identity. All right, so that is something that should also take note of as well. Now, the first thing for configuring your Microsoft Defender for Identity is by installing sensors into the domain controller, the domain server, the fidelity server, or the certificate server, right, or any third-party DC that your company wants to integrate with. So the first thing first is to add the sensor. So by clicking on add sensor, it allows you to download the MDI sensor, which is, like I said, it is a lightweight software that can be installed on the server. So once you download the MDI sensors installation package, which we are going to demonstrate after now, you then go ahead and install the MDI sensor on the domain controller and then configure the sensors communication. But before you can install the MDI sensor on the domain controller, how does it know which is your cloud environment to synchronize to, right? So after you've downloaded it and you've launched the installer, it is going to ask you for an access key, which looks like this. So you are going to copy the access key from your platform and paste it to the sensor. So once you paste that and it verifies that this is a valid access key and it knows that it is for your environment, it then goes ahead and install the MDI sensor on your domain controller. So once that you can be able to access. So once it is installed, you can access the sensor settings, sensor detail and management, and then also do some key sensor configuration to configure which place or which data are being collected. You can always limit. Let's say, for example, sometimes companies can have security testers come, and those guys basically create a lot of alerts, and they don't want the MDI sensor to collect alerts from those particular from the accounts, right? So they can exclude those accounts from being collected by the MDI, so that there is no alert fatigue that comes to the platform, right? So that is part of why the configuration is there to help improve the company's operation. Now, yeah, so this looks more into the capabilities of what exactly MDI can protect against. Now, we're talking about identity here, right? We're talking about identity, and there are different kind of attacks that can come to identity. It's actually important for you to get yourself familiar with some of these information or knowledge so that it helps you in your threat hunting or in your security operations workplace. So there are different phases when it comes to attacking identity. We have the reconnaissance, we have the compromised credentials, we have the lateral movement and domain dominance. And MDI has the capability to detect across these security threats and prevent attack, right, based on the configurations. So, for example, when there is a LDAP enumeration, which the LDAP enumerates for active users in the domain, right? So when there's an LDAP enumeration being done, the events are connected to MDI, and so it can alert that there is a LDAP enumeration being done in the domain controller, right? So then also when there are account enumeration done in the environment, MDI collect all this and also detect them as a threat to the company. When there's a username, server name and enumeration done, so all these are like reconnaissance phases, right? So then when the service account or an account is compromised, it can detect for brute force attempt. What is brute force? Brute force is when an attacker is trying out different passwords for a particular account, like repeatedly, is trying to brute force a password to get a valid password, right? So the MDI can detect for brute force attempts done in the environment. It can also detect suspicious VPN connections to the environment. It also detects on its own account suspicious activity. Then moving on to lateral movement, it detects pass the ticket attack, which pass the ticket is when an attacker gets the hash value. Whenever a account password is stored in the cloud or in the database or in the domain controller, it is saved as a password hash so that it prevents password leakage. But when an attacker gets that password hash, they might want to use the valid username plus the password hash to perform what we call pass the ticket or overpass the hash, right? To gain access based on the ticket or the hash that was gotten. So it can detect those kind of infiltration or lateral movement into the environment. So these are also blocked, or these are also detected, right? And might prompt you to block it when you are investigating security incidents in the MDI. Then for domain dominance, when there's NTLM in the attack, this goes deep into the NTLM, what do we call it now? Basically the LAN manager, right? Then when there's a golden ticket attack that attacks the Kerberos, or if there's a this is shadow attack that attacks the domain controller, all these kind of attacks are detected by the MDI, so you can know who is attacking you, the IP address, more information, and the advanced threat hunting does a good job for helping you in a more detailed forensic analysis on all these events. Now, I talked about lateral movement parts. So this, let's just understand this for a bit. So the Defender for Identity LMPs, which talks about lateral movement parts, are visual guide that helps you quickly understand and identify how attackers can move laterally inside your network. Identities discovered by MDI to be in a lateral movement path as a path information under the observe in organization tab in the user page. So it shows you the compromised user and then the particular workstation that owns that particular user, then how the account got lateral movement into another account. It shows you the path basically to or of how it is done so that you can do your investigation, right, for the account or for the compromise. Then, so how do you discover the LMPs with advanced hunting query? So basically, there's a previous query for identity directory events that shows you events on identity directory. So you can always query for the action type for potential lateral movement path identified. So once you query, once you streamline your query for this, it shows you some account that is fused that they are based on lateral movement, and then you can then project, which means that you want to limit the columns and just see the timestamp, what type of action was done, what application was used, the account name that's compromised, the account domain, the account SID, then the account display name, device name, and additional field that is probably more information about the event. So this is how the advanced threat hunting also look like. You can run queries, you can open multiple tabs for different investigations that you want to do, so that you probably want to link things together and you don't want to keep flaring the query field. So there's always a button to create a new tab to run more queries. And you can also save the query as well. You can save it so that let's say you want to go back to it, right? You can always save the query. If you are with me, can you just give a thumbs up so I'm sure that I'm not speaking to myself? Okay. Okay. Thelma, your hand is raised. Okay, okay, okay. Nice. All right, thank you. Thank you. Now, so that is basically it for MDI. I think it's quite straightforward. It talks about investigating for risk across your identities in your on-premise environment and in your Entra-ID environment, or let's say you want to integrate it with a third party like AWS or something. All right, so you can always install sensors on those domain controllers on those other cloud servers, right? And it gives you an environment to investigate, to see your security score, your baseline, and also gives you automated response for IR, that is incident response, to contain some events, and also gives you advanced hunting to hunt down activities done in your cloud environment based on the identity actually, right? So these are some questions that I have for each of you guys. And so I'll be asking the question one after the other, and if you know the answer, just put it in the comment section so that we can know if you have been following through the class. Now, which of the following statements is true about MDI licensing? Now, the A is MDI is available as a standalone product with a Pariser license. B, MDI is included in all M365 subscription. C, MDI is bundled with specific Microsoft security suites with per user cost associated with the entire suite. And D, MDI licensing requires a separate purchase for each domain controller you want to monitor. Which of the following statement is true about MDI licensing? MDI is available as a standalone product with a per user license. Is it A? Or is it B? MDI is included in all Microsoft 365 subscription. Or is it C? MDI is bundled with specific Microsoft security suites with per user cost
Sorry,
associated with.
I'll go
You
with
can just
C.
put okay, I'm seeing A. Please, can you just put it in
I'll
the
go with
comments
C.
so that I can correct it? All right.
I can't type there. Okay.
Okay, you can't type. All right. So Joseph Alabi is
Okay,
going with C.
sorry. Yeah. Okay, I'm done.
All right, fine. So someone is saying A. Sulite is saying A. Joseph, go with C. I need more answers. I mean, we're 13 years, so is it doesn't it come with the whole M365 subscription? Or is it just bundled with specific Microsoft security suites with a per user cost? So is this all? Okay. Another person is saying C. I hope you're not following the previous people. So the answer, Microsoft MDI licensing is not available as a standalone product, and it does not require a separate purchase for each domain controller you want to monitor. Microsoft's MDI license is actually bundled within specific security suites, which could be the E5, G5, F5, M365 license. So C is correct. C is correct. Congratulations to those that got it. Now, next question. What is the primary function of MDI sensor? So for this next one, just raise up your hand and I would ask you to say the answer. So what is the primary function of MDI sensor? Is it A, to provide multi-factor authentication for user login? Is it B, to collect data about user activity within your Active Directory environment? Is it C, to centrally manage security policy for all your devices? Or is it D, to encrypt sensitive data at rest within your network? So if you want to answer, just raise up your hand. I'll call you one after the other. Joseph, what is your answer?
Okay, my answer is B.
B, to collect data about user activity within your Active Directory environment.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah, very sure.
All right. Anybody else who want to answer? You can raise your hand up if you want to answer. Anyone else? Anyone else? Anyone else? As a contrary answer to Joseph. So in the comment section, I'm seeing Oyimafu Emmanuel saying B. Sudlight also says B as well. Like everybody's going with B, which is correct. MDI sensor allows you to collect data about user activity within your Active Directory environment. It is not about encrypting sensitive data. It is not about centrally managing security policy, and it does not provide multi-factor authentication, but it actually detects if an account does not come with MFA, and it raises it for security team to look into remediating that. So this is not the question. We have two more questions. Now, which of the following feature is not directly offered by MDI? Is it A? Now, if you know the answer, just raise up your hand. I'll call you one after the other. Which of the following feature is not directly offered by MDI? Is it A, real-time analysis of user activity data for anomaly detection? Is it B, integration with CM system for centralized incident response? Is it C, endpoint protection capabilities to safeguard devices from malware? Or is it D, threat hunting tools to proactively search for suspicious activity? Chimaobi is raised the hand up. Go ahead. What's the answer?
Yeah, I'll go with C, as in endpoint protection capabilities to safeguard devices from malware.
Which of the following feature is not offered? I shall see the answer.
Yeah, I'll go with C.
All right. Joseph, what is your answer?
Same C.
Same C.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else? Thank you, Chimaobi and Joseph. Anybody else want to give the answer based contrary also? Okay. So Microsoft Defender for Identity allows for real-time analysis of user activity data for anomaly detection. It also allows for threat hunting tools to proactively search for suspicious activity. But does it allow integration with CM system for centralized incident response? That one, yes, it actually allows that, but it does not have the feature of endpoint protection capabilities to safeguard devices from malware. So those that CC is the correct answer. That is correct. Instead, there is a Microsoft Defender for Endpoint that has endpoint protection capabilities that protect devices against malware and attacks that relates to endpoint protection. So C is the correct answer. Then last question. Microsoft Defender for Identity offers security assessments. What type of security does this assessment primarily focus on? Is it A, network security vulnerability? Is it B, identity and access management security posture? Is it C, endpoint detection and response capabilities, or is it D, malware and virus protection and effectiveness? So, Joseph, what is the answer?
B.
Identity and access management security posture. Are you sure?
Yeah, very sure.
Okay. From the comment, Solite says D, I am as well. Now, Microsoft Defense for Identity offers security assessment. Which type of security does it focus on primarily? And yes, it is correct. It focuses on identity and access management security posture. It doesn't focus on EDR or network security vulnerabilities. It doesn't focus on malware and virus protection effectiveness. Right. So there are other capabilities in the Microsoft Defense for Cloud Suite that focuses on the other ones. But for MDI, it focuses on identity and access management security posture. So I guess that is it. So let's transition into our practical session where I show you the interface and how to configure the Microsoft Defender for Identity Sensors and how it correlates data in the dashboard. All right. So now for you to be able to work with Microsoft Defender for Identity, like I mentioned, you need to have a proper license, number one. Number two, you need to have a domain controller or Entra ID environment or a cloud environment that has identity that needs protection, right? So, but if you have an on-premise environment, you need to have a domain controller where you need to install the what's the name now? Hold on.
The sensor.
Exactly. Thank you. So I want to share my screen. Sorry, I have multiple tabs, so I was looking for the actual tab. Okay. Please, can you confirm if you can see my screen? All right. Now, for this demo, I've already deployed an Azure VM 2022, that is a Windows Azure VM 2022, which I'll be using for my domain controller. All right. And so when I installed it, I've already configured the DC to run as a domain server, which I'll be sharing the screen now. Not this one. Okay, good. So that was it. Okay. Okay. So now upon running it, so just for those that want to know how to install a domain server service on a what do you call it? Why is this thing running from my head? On the Windows server, yes. So once you have your Windows server up and running, by default, you won't see this ADDS stuff. All what you see is local server, all server, and probably the file and storage services. So you come over to the manage rather. Manage, you see the add feature, add rows and feature. Skip the first three, 1, 2, 3, and then from here you can, by default this will not be ticked, so you want to tick on the Active Directory domain service here, and then a new tab would open by the left over here, which allows you to install the Active Directory domain service. So once you install it, once you install the feature of ADDS, the system has to reboot and come up as with the new feature of it being an Active Directory domain server. But it does not automatically become the domain server. Once you click on the ADDS, you'll see the button to promote this VM to become a domain server. So you click on that and then run your configuration to configure it with the domain name, and basically allows you to become the domain server for the environment. Now, This is my domain controller on my domain server for this demo, right? Let me just search for group. Edit local user. Is it local user and groups? Yeah. So right now I don't have local users and group right now, but in a real world environment, you might want to create more local users. Sorry, it is not here. Sorry, my bad. So under the tools, I talked about there is a lot of feature that helps you to configure users and group on this particular domain server. Right? But you can also search there and also you can come here. I think there's a place for add I'm not saying yeah, AD user and computer, AD users and computers. You want to click on that, it should open. Yeah, so this is it actually, not the other one. Now, this is basically your domain server. And so in the users, you can begin to create a lot of users. But these are the default users with my own custom user which is for this VM. All right. But the more user I create, basically, it gets saved into this domain server. And then when I connect it using the MDI sensor to the Microsoft data for identity, all the users are synchronized with there, and it checks for security threats in the identity, if that makes sense. So yeah, so you can always go ahead and create more users, but I'm just going to use this default user. Then now that I have my domain server configured, I want to install the MDI sensor on this particular domain server. So I'm going to open the browser and then I'll go to security.microsoft.com, enter. Now, so security.microsoft.com. So you have to log in as your domain account, or if you don't want to do that, you can always share the certain file for the user or for the machine rather. So once you are in, this is the Microsoft Defender Suite, which comes with endpoint detection, file dashboard. This is the identity that we'll be focusing on. So you have to scroll down. So for the onboarding of domain controller or on-prem, you have to scroll down all the way to systems. Once you click on it, you scroll down again and you see settings. So you're going to open up the settings. Let me close this. Now, yeah, so we can see a lot, but our focus is going to be the identity because this is for MDI capabilities. So we're going to click on the identity. And also note that if you don't see the identity button here, then most likely you don't have the right subscription to view the MDI capability. So you want to get the right subscription, because I've seen some account that, or I've also seen some account that don't have a lot of all these options. You might just see like two buttons like cloud apps and device discovery, and the rest might not be there. It is subscription based. All right. So we're going to click on identities. Now, so this first one is for deployment. So deploying the sensor into the Active Directory. Now we're going to click on sensor over here. Activation allows for automatic detection of on-premise Active Directory environment. So it's, if you have some on-premise already synchronized to your environment, they are loaded here, and it can help you to activate them automatically without installing sensor. But if they are not shown there, you might want to come to the sensor tab and scroll down a bit. Then you are going to see the add sensor button. Now we're going to click on that. It's telling us about the new feature of Activate Server, but we don't have that, so we're going to continue with classic sensor. Now, this is what I'm talking about. Once you download the sensor, you also given access key to use during the installation that tells it's the account basically that is being used on. We're going to wait a bit for it to be downloaded. So I'm just going to copy the access key down. Now it is downloaded already, if I'm correct. Yeah, it is downloaded. So let me just open it in File Explorer. So I'm going to right click and extract all, then extract everything to this folder, which is the downloads folder. Now it has extracted. I'm just going to run this Azure ATP sensor setup, which is the MDI sensor. Now it says already installed because I've already installed it, but let me try to see if I can uninstall it just for the sake of this demo. Uninstall the program. Then I'm going to uninstall this. Uninstall. It might take a bit of time. Please, if you have any questions, feel free to drop it in the comments. Professionals are here to always answer your questions. So while we wait, let me also show you some pictures of the MDI, why that is uninstalling. So yeah, so we have deploying the MDI sensors, or deploying MDI for SaaS, which is software as a service. So right now it is already connected to our Microsoft 365, but if you want to connect it to other SaaS applications that uses authentication, right? For example, Atlassian for Jira and other stuff, we can connect the MDI to collect identities from our SaaS application. So let's say the company is making use of, let me see. So let's say it's making use of Atlassian, which is Jira, right? And there are external guests added to the Jira, and all these needs to be checked across board. We can click on the Atlassian, and it is going to allow us to configure the account for the Atlassian and connect them to the MDI. So that is what the SaaS is used for. Then we have the Entra OAuth application, which is the OAuth apps that is in our Entra environment. So then also next we have health issues, which the MDI checks for any health issue across our configuration environment, which is our account environment, be it on the on-prem or the cloud environment, right? So it checks which issues are there and what needs fixing. And we can see that there is a directory service object auditing not configured as required. Right? So this is amongst compliance and also help improve security, which tells us that we need to please configure the domain service object auditing event according to the guidelines as described in this link. So once it is configured, it is going to change the status to closed, and tells us that we are more secured. Let me check back on the installation guide. All right, so it is finished. Now, so let's just run the installation process once again. So I'm going to run the setup, and English is my primary language. So I want to install the sensor into the domain controller. Now this is where it asks for access key. So I'm just going to paste it over here, and then click on install. So it is going to start installing, and take note that right now network is slow. So right now, if we come to the on-prem and we click on sensor, you will notice that there is no sensor in our environment. That it's not collecting any account information or identity from any on-prem environment. So we're just going to wait for the installation to complete, and then when we check back and refresh this particular page, which you see that that we have onboarded a particular domain controller. All right, so this is it. So we have this domain controller, which is called DC. So the name of my VM is actually DC. That's why it is showing as DCM. Then type is the domain controller. The domain that I configured for the DC is cyber.com. Migration state is not ready. Service status stopped. Sensor is up to date. Delay update is disabled, and also talks about it being not LD. How many health issue? There's 2 created when April 18, 416. Right now it is 417 according to this time zone. So that is it. Then when we come to health issues, we are able to see where the health issue is coming from. Then when we check on the sensor health issue, we have more health issues, which if we click on it, it tells us more information about the health issue. Since directory service advanced auditing is not enabled, and second health issue is NTLM auditing is not enabled as well. So all these, once they are worked on, the status changes from open to closed. Then when we come to advanced feature, this allows us to enable automatic Windows auditing configuration for the domain controller. All right, so we're going to leave this disabled, but if we want some Windows auditing configuration, you might want to enable this. Then we have directory service accounts, which talks about service accounts used to access the Active Directory, which is the one that which is this particular AD, right? So if we want that, because when we checked, let me go back to health issue. And then check sensor health issue. You will notice that one of the sensor health issue is directory services advanced audit is not enabled, right? Oh, sorry, is it global? Yeah, directory services object auditing is not configured too. So service auditing. Then now if we come to directory services, right? We'll see that the reason why it is not able to audit is because there is no service account that is attached to this to the MDI so that it can be able to perform auditing out of the box on our Active Directory, our on-prem Active Directory. So this is where we come and add the service account that we want to attach to MDI to be able to have access to our cyber.com domain, which is our domain controller, and then put in the password for the service account and the account name. But I don't have any service account. So, but this is where it's configured. Then when the service account is configured, it is the MDI is able to perform auditing on the Active Directory domain controller fully to get a lot of issues that is related to the domain controller, what has not been implemented, what has been implemented, and so on and so forth. Then we have the manage action accounts button, which allows you to, I would say, automate some actions on accounts. Let's say that a particular account in the AD has been compromised. This manage action account allows the MDI to automatically disable the account. So you might want to, let's say you don't use the, let's say you don't want to use the automatic sensor local system account because of probably that one is is the domain controller. All right, you might want to configure your manage account using a domain account actually. So it has to be a domain account in this AD system. So you put in the name, put in the domain, and then put in password if it prompts you, and then save it. so that it is able to use that account to perform manage action accounts, to manage actions on accounts. Then we have VPN connection. Let's say your on-prem runs on VPN and you want to use Radius to connect it. So you might want to configure the Radius sensor with your on-prem and connect the MDI to it. Then over here, you can adjust your alert threshold. Let's say, for example, LDAP is not really critical for your environment. You might want to change it from high to medium. Then apply changes as necessary to that. So there are other things that there are other kind of attack that you want to adjust, probably if it is not important and whatnot. So that is what the adjust alert threshold is used for. Basically, like also configuring baseline, like I mentioned. Then if you come to about, it just shows you about your MDI. Then let's come down to entity tag. Under entity tag, we can see sensitive, which allows us to configure which account is sensitive, which can be a domain controller or an admin or a global admin account. So we might want to configure sensitive accounts or tag sensitive accounts into this place. So for example, my user account is a sensitive account, which is cyber picture. So I'll just want to click on it and then notice that it synchronizes the AD account into this MDI. That's why I can click on cyber picture. So that is my user account. So this is a sensitive account. I'm not going to tag it here. Then if there are devices also onboarded on my on-prem, I want to tag sensitive devices or sensitive group. So this is basically used for tagging, used to identify high value assets, which are used by some detection. And the lateral movement part also relies on entities sensitive status. Then we have the ONI token. And the ONI token is used as a trap for malicious actor, which means that any authentication associated with this ONI token account triggers an high alert. So when a particular when you have a only user or like a user used to attract attackers and that account has been compromised, right? So it raises alerts based on that. So we might want to tag. Let's say if this is our only user, right? We want to tag this and then put it there. So if anything happens, it helps with the investigation of MDI to be able to know what is and what is not. Then we have the Exchange server. This allows us to also tag the Exchange server that, because MDI considers Exchange server as a high value asset and automatically tag them as sensitive. So if we have exchange servers, we must tag them over here. Then under the actions and exclusions, we have the global excluded entity. Like I mentioned that if you have a security test user and you know that the tester is going to create too much alerts and it will cause alert fatigue, we might want to tag or add that particular user to exclusion that don't investigate alerts caused by this user because of we want to exclude him from detection because of the kind of work that he does. So it does not raise too much alerts that are false positive because a security tester is in your environment and it causes too much alerts. Then you can also exclude domains, you can exclude devices, then also IP address. So if it falls under this particular IP address, it gets excluded from its investigation, basically. So just tread this carefully, not to exclude too much, and just exclude what is necessary. Then we have exclusion by detection rule, which you might want to configure some rules to perform your exclusion. Now, this comes with a lot of rule. And let's say, for example, I'm sure that my security tester is going to perform suspected brute force attack, right? And I want to exclude the MDI from detecting this particular attack from a particular user. I'll come to this action button and I can add devices or I can add IP address. So if I click on add devices, I can be able to add, that because I know that this particular device is going to perform attack, right? So I'll click on this device and then click on add device, basically. So once that is added, when SMB attack is done by the user, it is excluded automatically. But I'm about to remove that actually, so I don't forget. Okay. Then we have the health issues notification, where you can configure email address for any health issue. So if there are health issue, you want to send post notification to certain email address in the company so that they are aware and they can work on those health issues immediately for MDI to run perfectly. Then we have the syslog notification. If you want to enable syslog or configure syslog service, so that is where it comes in. So this is for configuring MDIs and its collection rules and whatnot. So now let's look at some security posture around Microsoft Defender for Identity. So we might want to come to Identity tab and then click on Dashboard. This dashboard gives us an holistic view of the account that is synchronized with Microsoft Defender for Identity and shows us how secure we are. So, but for the sake of view, I don't like the way this view works. So I want to switch to a better tab that has proper view on this and what we're talking about. All right, please confirm if you can see my screen. Okay, thank you.
You can see the screen.
Okay, thank you. So this shows us a summary about the number of human identity that we have that is being protected by MDI, and tells us that it is protecting 941 identities, which 116 is our Entra ID human identity, and we have 0 non-human identity in our environment. Then we scroll right, for on-prem, we can see that we have 3 human identity and then 0 non-human identity. So now it's asking, do we want to connect this? We don't want to connect it at all. So let's move on to the next. Then for human identity, we have a total of, from here, it's saying that we have 235, which 116 are SaaS identity, and then 116 is on-prem, is Entra ID. Then we have a small gap here of 3 for on-prem identity. Then if we scroll down, we're able to see more information about our account. Now we can see that it clearly lists the high privileged users that we have in our environment. It tells us that we have 6 global admin, 3 security admin, and then 2 tagged as sensitive. So basically, it helps us to monitor how many admins that we have, and also help us also go through. Probably we want to remove, or we don't want to. Let's say there's an admin that is not active and it's still active, or it's still showing here. We might want to go and disable that account so that it is not a cause of compromise for the environment. Then we have the identity posture, and this tells us our security score. That for this our organization, in terms of identity, our security score is 59.63%, which is a long way from 100%, which means that we have some things that we need to work on for protecting our company's identity. So we're going to click on improve your secure score, which is going to show us ways that we need to improve our secure score to get a more safer environment for our company or organization. So this is how the secure score look like. And then if we scroll down a bit, we can see a lot of things that have not been done. For example, we've not set the phishing email level threshold at 2 or higher. We need to ensure that the admin consent workflow is enabled. So whenever something needs to be done, admin consent has to be there so that things can be checked and no account can just run anything anyhow. So a lot of all these are recommendations that might need to be done or might not. And if we scroll down here, we can see that the enable MFA is set. If we click on it, it tells us that it is completed and the global admin, billing admin, and every admin or every user or admin rather has their MFA set, which is a way to protect admin users or admin accounts. But if we go to one that has not been addressed, let's say this one. If we click on it, it says ensure that intelligence for impersonation protection is enabled. This is the description, and then it tells us that how do we implement it. Ensure that all users have an assigned anti-phishing policy with enable mailbox intelligence. So this helps us prevent the number of phishing attacks or phishing attempts or impersonation rather in the organization, so that when an account is impersonated, it's able to flag that this is an impersonated account. So if we want to change or edit status or action plan, so the first one is that it needs to be addressed. But if we want to start working on it, we can come to planned and then put in some action plan that, okay, we're planning on this for the next 3 days. But if we want to accept our risks that we don't want to have this enabled, probably it might come with some cost. So say risk accepted, approved, and then click on save and close, which it accepts the risk. So, but if it is actually configured, notice that we can't click on completed because it checks if it has been configured. So, but if it has actually been configured through this particular place, right, it automatically becomes completed, so it can be skipped, if that makes sense. Then we can also come to, so this is the overview of the security posture. This shows us how secure our company is, 45 things to be addressed, 1 thing planned, and then 0 risk accepted and whatnot. It shows us top recommended action to be done in the environment. So this is how the security posture looks like. So the higher your score, the better it is for your company, basically. Then if we look at history shows us some things that we've done to add more points to our security posture, which for this one, on April 18, we're able to change password for on-prem accounts with potentially leaked credentials. So this was done, so it was automatically, it gave us points, basically. Then if you look at the metrics and trends, shows us the metrics for people that love numbers, for executive that loves numbers, metrics and trends are quite important for visual rep of the company's posture. So this is what we can show. Then so that is it about the security posture. Then we talk about some threat hunting, which on the left hand side we can see investigation and response, which is IR, and under this we can see hunting. Once we click on hunting, we can see advanced hunting. So advanced hunting brings us to the page where we can place our query, or to the advanced hunting page where we can place our query. So let's say that we want to identify all active administrator, global admin, security admin in the environment. This query can be done, and then once we click on run query, it brings out all the admin or high privileged users, right? Then if you want to look at event that happened in our identity directory, which is in our AD, we can run the identity directory events command or query rather, and this shows us events. So we can also go deeper based on what we want to check. And then by the left, we can see some built-in queries that we can also check, be it for email, device, Defender. Now, this is a centralized page for the advanced hunting, the centralized advanced hunting for across board the device, identity, and apps. Right. But if we're looking at identity related events, so these are some ones, and yeah, I think that is the ones that are up. So apps and identities, these are what we want to look at for. So then so we have the custom rule detection, also is for creating some custom rule for detection. And yeah, what else? So back to identity. So we have the button for coverage and maturity, which shows us our coverage, the end-to-end identity coverage across our on-prem, cloud, SaaS, and partner environment. And in the maturity level, it tells us that we are 87%. And there are two more things that needs to be integrated, which is SaaS application and enable service-specific protection. And then it tells us that we have full coverage over everything that we have in our company. But we've not connected our SaaS application yet, so that is still we have some missed points basically. Then under service account, it shows us all service accounts from Active Directory and cloud. But as we can see, we don't have any service accounts installed or rather running in our environment. So this gives us information about what service account we have in our environment. So we know when to delete some that are not in use and when to leave them. Then we have password protection. Just as the name implies, it looks at protecting passwords. So the first one is password hygiene. It checks our AD and see if there is any weak password that is being used by our users or identity in our Active Directory. It checks it, and if they are users, it's going to list them over here. But all our users are secure with a very strong password. So we are good to go. Then Okta, if we have Okta as well, we can check for password hygiene. Then we have password policy. So we don't have any password policy, but all our users uses strong password policy. Then in terms of leaked credential, there are no user that have that is using leaked account or leaked password. So this does not display any information. And then in terms of exposed password, no exposed password issue detected in our AD. So this is like the capabilities of the Microsoft Defender for Identity. Then lastly, tools. It shows us more information about the documentation, readiness scripts, and things that might need to do around MDI. So that's where we'll be stopping for today. So if you have any question, feel free to drop in the comment section or raise your hand and you'll be quick to ask questions. Does anyone have any question? So if there is none, I will hand over the mic back to Thelma. Thelma, please, you can take it forward.
Okay, thank you very much, Stephen, for that wonderful section. And we're very grateful for bringing out your time to take us on this course. And also, since there is no question, our section will be ending now. And we'll be having another section next month, first Saturday of next month, and hope to see everyone to join the class once again. Thank you very much for your time and have a wonderful weekend. Bye.